Hey, what up, family? What's going on? It's Ty from No Picks Podcast.
What's good, people? This is Joe checking in for No Picks Podcast.
All right, so check this out. So today we're going to react to a Charleston White clip. So there's a Cam Newton had a interview with Charleston White, and it was a pretty big deal. It sparked a lot of controversy. So we're going to look at a clip of it, and Joe and I are going to respond to it, and hopefully we start a conversation. All
All
right,
right,
so
let's go.
we're going to start this up and see what happens from here.
Because when I wasn't talking like that, wearing a bow tie, y'all wasn't paying me no attention. And I was going to the Supreme Court, changing laws and legislation in this country. I was working with over 50 U.S. congressional members, from Ted Cruz to Mark Rubio, Senator John Cornyn. I was on the front page of the American Bar Association Journal. I had done a study with News 21, Walter Cronkite School of Journalism. Y'all wasn't paying attention then. So, nigga, I gave y'all what y'all want. A ignorant motherfucking nigga that talk like them rappers. Now y'all listening. Now y'all paying attention, huh? I got y'all attention. Checkmate. Now let me tell y'all what y'all need to hear. We fucked up as a race of people since y'all so caught up into my delivery. 5% of children now are catching HIV from ages 13 to 21. What y'all worried about? 85% of the new chlamydia, all the new cases are teenagers. What y'all so caught up about? Nigga, only 35% of most kids in inner cities can read on or above their grade level. What the fuck are y'all talking about? These kids can't read. Because when I wasn't talking like that, wearing a bow tie, y'all.
yo, yo, yeah. Well, Charleston was not playing, bro. He was cooking on that interview, bro. He said a lot of controversial things, but um, yo, what you think of the clip, bro?
Yo, Charleston White, man, like that dude is very controversial.
yeah,
He's a smart man, and he gets it.
yeah,
He gets it in, yo. Um, I had to say this: Charleston White, he is like what I would say. He's like in the Batman movie. He was like, "Yo, you die, be a hero, or live." Jay Z said, "You die, be a hero, or live long enough to see yourself become a villain." Right?
yeah.
This dude, he's the hero right now. Like,
Yeah, you think he's the hero?
yo, he's the hero right now, man. Like this dude, he says crazy stuff to make the news and all that, whatever. But
Yeah,
like, he is no joke when it comes to like the points that he makes and the content that he makes, man. Like,
right.
he always has a. Well, no, I'm not gonna say always. I'll say he has a point 95% of the time,
Yeah,
and I mean, I think in this instance, man, like he's right. Like people don't pay attention to the guy that is you know speaking articulately and all that. Like we in our community in black community, we pay
right,
attention to the people that talk gangster.
right.
And he talking crazy, he pulling headlines and all that, and that's what we want to hear.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know that he had such a seasoned political career. You know what I mean? I don't know too much about this brother, but after seeing this clip, I was like, I got to see more because every time I usually see him, he's talking about something that's controversial or offer an opinion on something, some beef
Mm.
or something ridiculous or saying something ridiculous. So I'm like, who is this clown? I didn't really know about him, but he listed off some of the politicians he was working with. He was working in Congress. Granted, the people he listed, they were all Republicans. So I would say he was always a conservative at heart. You know what I mean? Because he was working with a lot of conservative politicians and congressmen. But I didn't know he had such a decorated political career. And he basically said, like, when I was saying it that way, y'all wasn't listening. Y'all wasn't listening. So what y'all got now? Ignorant motherfucker. So now that I'm talking like this, now y'all won't listen. Now y'all
Mm.
and it's funny because he's like, I saw I had to see the whole podcast, right? Because
Right.
after this clip went viral, I was like, what is it about? And he was like, I talk this way because I am addressing evil. And he talks about that. He was like, our culture is failing right now. He's like, what are y'all talking about? Y'all caught up in my tone, but our kids can't read on grade level. Our kids are out there being sexually active at young age and have high rates of HIV and chlamydia right now. Like our kids can't, you know what I mean? Like he at one point he was like, we turn on the radio. I'm riding to school. I'm taking my daughter to school. She listening to music talking about I like girls who like girls. People promoting lesbianism on the radio to our community, to our kids. He was like on the way to school. He was like, so what are we really talking about right now? And I think that it's hard to argue with that when it's just like he was like, don't talk to me about my tone when we listening to rap that puts out this message. When we're watching movies and listening to rap that's poisoning our kids and poisoning our minds and talking about killing each other and our women being hella promiscuous. Like he was basically going in like, y'all don't say shit about that. Y'all don't say nothing. Y'all dance, y'all shake y'all asses, y'all twerk, y'all dance in the club, but y'all don't talk to me about my delivery when this is the shit that y'all accept. And I'm like, that's facts. That's when I was like, this brother got a point. Like,
Yeah.
who are you to point the finger at me? Look what y'all condone. Look what you guys endorse.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, that's crazy, bro. Ski, like this is what's popping right now. How dare you talk about my tone when you're talking about Pound Town and all this stuff? You know what I mean? So and it goes deeper than music because he said our kids can't read at grade level, bro. Inner city kids ain't reading on grade level, bro. It's a problem across America. I think the average American can't even read on a sixth grade reading level. I mean, so like it's a problem across the board. But like speaking about our community,
Yeah.
our children are behind, bro. Like,
Bro, did you know that the fucking in Oregon, Oregon as a state did away with standardized testing because they said
yeah,
it so you don't so in order to graduate high school and all that you don't have to read or do like mathematics on any kind of scale because they say that it disproportionately impacts minorities. So
so
you don't.
what did they substitute it with? Like, well, how do you rank? How do you gauge a person's intelligence on a subject matter? Like, what do they do?
They just pass you, bro.
I gotta look into that, bro, because that
Look
sounds like
into it. Look at
some
it's right.
hippie like
It's a
alternative
law. It's a law right
lifestyle.
now in Oregon.
That's
You know,
crazy.
yeah. You don't have to meet a certain standard for math or English at all.
So do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a horrible thing.
Okay,
I think
I was
it's
about to
I
say
think
that
it's
don't sound like
terrible,
a good
bro.
idea.
Like it's not. And they specifically brought up the how why they did it is because like it negatively impacts the like minority communities, Hispanic
Right,
and Black people or whatever. But math is math.
right,
English is English.
right.
So
Yeah,
if as Black people or Hispanic people we're not able to make the grade, then that's just what the fuck it is. Then we can't
yeah,
you can't remake the grade. Math is still math.
right.
Like English is still English. Words are still words. Adjectives are
Yeah.
still adjectives. Verbs are still fucking verbs. Like
Mhm,
what are we supposed to do about that? Like
mhm.
I I
Right.
don't
That's
understand
crazy.
that. You know what I mean? I don't understand. Like okay, so you feel like you know you're equal to whoever because like I don't get the logic behind doing away with standardized testing because it negatively impacts minorities. Listen,
Yeah.
if minorities are the ones that are doing bad on these tests, then it is what it is. Like, what's the alternative? The alternative shouldn't be nothing.
Yeah. 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 I listen, I think that's very interesting. It makes me want to look into it now to be like, what are y'all doing, Oregon? Like, um, I find that very interesting, right? And I was thinking about something, thinking about Charleston White. It's interesting because he was talking about people criticizing him for the way he delivers his message and the things that he says, right? So it made me think about someone else, another controversial figure who's resting in peace now, but he was known and he was, attacked for his tone and his delivery, right? You know who I'm talking about? Talking about the Godfather. But as a reason I'm bringing this up though, right? Because here you have Charleston White as ratchet and crazy and controversial as he is, spitting truth. But the way it's delivered is, the way Charleston White delivers it now. He's like, I'm an ignorant mofo. And then on the other hand, you had somebody who was Kevin Samuels who was in a tuxedo or in a suit, a Gucci suit. He was like, it was probably, David Ford cologne on just to sit there and do this podcast. Just to do his little show, he probably sprayed on two squirts was like $500 or whatever he had on. You know what I mean? Like he was there polished, he was articulate, and he was very blunt, but he was very articulate and very formal. And even then, when it was a black man who was in a suit who was formal, they were not receptive to it. right? The community, a lot of, and granted, Kevin had a lot of love, but we're talking about his haters. We're talking about the people who pushed back and wanted to assassinate his character, and we're so angered by, and triggered by his tone. But that's the problem. That's the problem I see, bro. Is that it doesn't matter if you have a Charleston White or if you have a Kevin Samuels. It doesn't matter if you have a Monique trying to tell black women not to wear your bonnets out in public and to treat yourself with respect, or India Ari telling them why is the Essence Festival become sexualized and why are we twerking and doing all these ratchet things at the Essence Festival. That's the softer way to put it. And then you can have somebody ratchet out there talking and delivering the same message. It don't matter, bro. It does not matter. And that's what I'm saying. If as long as you spit truth to the community, they don't care. If it's something that they don't want to hear, they don't care what it sounds like or who it comes from. Do not hold them accountable. Do not criticize them. How dare you criticize me? And that's my problem with the community, bro. And that goes for both sexes, because niggas do nigga shit too. And I'm tired of it. Like, niggas is being niggas, and the shorties is out there acting like niggas. It's like a bunch of us. It's a mess right now with the culture. And he was talking about the schools, and you remember that incident in Baltimore? It was like a few months ago. There was a report where there was like this section in Baltimore where like all the schools in that concentration, there was like probably like more than 10, maybe like 15 schools. None of the kids in those schools in Baltimore were reading above a fourth grade reading level, bro. And that's how horrible it is in certain places in the inner city. Like, our kids are just not where they need to be. Our culture is failing academically. We are behind. Our kids aren't prioritizing education. Our kids aren't, you know what I mean? Like, we are lost as a community, but we don't want to hear the truth. It don't matter if it comes from Kevin Samuel or Charleston White. And that's where I'm at with Charleston White, where I'm like, yo, he can say whatever the hell he wants, how he wants, because it doesn't matter if he says it this way or says it like Kevin. It don't matter.
Let me ask you. So, all right. So this is what I don't really get about the standardized testing shit, right? It's not like standardized testing and like learning how to like read and write and do math and shit like that is new. It's not new.
Right.
So what the fuck? What's so confusing, or like I don't know, how do I put this? What's confusing or controversial about like learning how to read and write at a significant, at a, I don't know, like adequate level? Like what's
I think so.
How is that controversial?
So studies have shown, right? We have data, right? So because we have standardized testing, we have data that we can pull from and see how certain people are doing, certain demographics of students are doing. And what they saw is that low income students, especially especially low income minority students, don't perform as well as people who go to areas that have better education, better schools, like private schooling. They just don't compete, right? For whatever reason, when it comes to standardized testing, inner cities kids, low income minority students just don't do well on these tests. It could be
Why?
several. It could be several factors, right? First, I'll be the first to say that the education system, the Philly public education system is horrible. That I will tell you. I'm a product of the Philly public school system. And then when I finally got to college and I went to a private school, when I went to college, I was in every remedial course my freshman year, bro. I couldn't really write a paper. I couldn't really do certain types of math. Like, I just realized how much I had been failed by Philly in my school. And
But
granted, I graduated top of my class, bro.
is that on the parents? Whose fault is it?
It's a combination of things, right? Because, and I say, because from my experience, right, like, my grandparents were amazing. My grandparents were working class, but they were ambitious. They had their business. They took us on vacations. They got us whatever we needed. We never went without, because my grandparents raised me, and they,
Right.
they instilled these values in me, right? And I still went to a crappy school. I graduated from Ani High School. You know what I mean? Class of '05. At the time, it was still it was on the top 10 persistently dangerous schools in the whole city. Like, Ani was crazy back then. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's much better now, but Ani was one of the worst high schools in Philly. I got a shitty education. I didn't know at the time. I knew I was being educated. I was smart. I was at the top of my class. My ranking was like 8. I was in top 10. Like, I was up there. I was in AP classes. I was honor roll. I was doing all that shit. I was in National Honor Society. Like, I was up there. But when I got to college, bro, I realized I was dumb as shit. I realized I got into the school because my grades were great. I had a certain score on my SAT. I broke 1,000. I had low, you know what I mean? I had, and it could have been a quota. It could have been, I could have been maybe that race quota, that ethnic quota, check off a box. I don't know, but I know that I was smart and I worked my ass off in high school and I got into an amazing school. But when I got there, bro, I realized I was stupid, bro. I was in writing classes. I was in math classes. I had to correct so many things and finally build a foundation that I was supposed to get in high school and just in grade school. I never got it. So we, for whatever reason, the Philly public school system, or just in general outside of Philly, it fails our students, bro. And in the inner city, it's even worse. You asked why, and you should know. Depending on the zip code, if you live in an area with a zip code, if it's a poor neighborhood, like if you were like in Seventh and Erie or Second and Erie, you know what I mean. If you were around those areas, it's all about property taxes. That's how schools get funding. It's about the taxes that you get out of your community. So if your community is poor, if the real estate value is low, and that the property taxes are low, the schools are collecting less money. So they by that design, they have less funding than say a school in Cheltenham, a school that's on the outskirts in Ben Salem, a school that's outside. The money for your school, the funding comes from the community that you live in, and the property taxes they collect. So by that system, because inner cities, they have these inner city schools. If the communities are low income, the schools are probably not going to have that many resources, bro. And then all the other problems that come with that too: the drugs, the violence, the ratchetness. Some of it is the mentality that some of the people have from the hood as well, like this hood mentality that we talked about in previous episodes. So there are a lot of reasons why. Um, we're not performing on standardized tests. I don't want to give excuses, bro, but I do know that it's not because we're inherently dumber. I think that it's just that there's a lot of struggles that come with, like, say, the inner city and the education that they receive. Because I got a shitty education, bro. If you got a good one, I'm happy. If you went to like a good high school, I'm happy for you, bro. But I went to Alny, and I'll tell you now, I'm a smart nigga. I was usually the smartest person in the room. Like you said, I'm usually one of the smarter peoples in the room. Like, I was always a smart guy. But when I got to college, I realized I don't know shit. And imagine going to 12 years of school and then going to college and realizing I didn't learn a goddamn thing. That's a shitty feeling, bro, because you realize how much we've been shortchanged. You realize how much, these other people are so much more prepared than our kids. And it sucks, bro. But I saw that shit firsthand. So that was just my experience. I'm not going to try to paint everybody's experience like that, bro. But like, I can see that there's a big difference between like inner city schools and the education people are getting elsewhere, like or Central High School, or near all those high schools, all girls high. There's levels to the education, and it makes a huge difference in standardized testing, bro. And it sucks. So that's one reason. I'm not giving the whole reason, but like,
Right.
some of it is lack of resources. Some of it is just poor communities with less property taxes. Schools get less funding. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of the funding usually goes to like special ed or like IEP kids. All that special education money that the schools get for those students. But for the other kids, we get scraps, bro. We get shit. Sometimes we were sharing textbooks. When I worked in education, some of the kids were sharing textbooks sometimes. There weren't enough textbooks for everybody to get one. You know what I mean? Like, shit like that, where you're just like, wow. It's crazy, bro. So some people would say we should change standardized testing. Why make it mandatory? And because clearly people in better schools and better districts will perform better. So then people are saying, are you making this like classes then? Are you making it so that middle and upper class students already have this advantage? So you're going to kind of funnel them into higher education. They're going to get into the best schools. They're going to get the best education. You know what I mean? It becomes like, is the system classist now? If the quality of education in the working class is crappy, is this classist now? Standardized testing. So I don't know. Does that make sense, or like how you feel? Like,
No, I understand that. I
you know what I
understand what
mean?
you're saying.
That was
Yeah,
just my
I
experience
understand.
though. So
Yeah.
that's one aspect.
It
That's
makes
one
sense.
aspect.
I hear what you're saying.
You know what I mean? I hate to
Uh,
make excuses though. Listen, do what you
no,
got to do.
yeah.
But it's levels to this shit, man. But let's get it back to Charleston though. Like, I mean, the community's in crisis, bro, and that's what he said. Do you think the community is in crisis? We've talked about it. So
I
you
think
think
community's in crisis for sure. But I mean, I would say most of it is on the parents, man. Like, the parents
yeah,
gotta look at school as more of not just daycare, not just like teenage daycare,
right,
or not just fucking
right,
middle school daycare. Like,
right,
it's more than just that. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta put
right,
work in. If your kid's not performing, listen, you gotta put some money aside. You gotta sell some
right.
food stamps. You gotta do whatever.
I
You gotta
know.
scam. You gotta do some PPP loan shit. Listen, you gotta get that motherfucker a tutor. Like, I mean, I'm sorry to tell you,
I
I had a
know.
tutor when I was in high school. When I was in middle school, I had a tutor, and my tutor was my teacher. I used to go to school early. I used to wake up really, really early in the morning and go to school. I had to be to school at like 6:30 so my algebra teacher could tutor me.
Mhm.
And because
Yeah.
I wasn't good at this shit. I'm not good at
Right.
I'm not good at math, bro. Like so my algebra teacher used to be like, oh listen, and I tried really, really hard. I used to wake up every fucking day. I used to wake up every fucking day early, be to school at 6:30, ride the bus for an hour and a half. So I had to wake up at like 4:30, brush my teeth, wash my ass, and do everything. It was
Yeah.
hard, bro. And my grandma used to be like, yo,
Right.
like listen, my grandma was like, listen, you gotta do what you gotta do. And my teachers respected it. But listen, I don't even know if I really earned a B in algebra. I don't think I did. But my teacher respected the fact that like, yo, like you making these strides, you
Right.
making these moves.
Right.
And I think the nigga just gave me a B. He was a white dude. He was cool. He was a graduate of what's the Irish motherfuckers that be fighting the fighting thing. You know what I'm talking about? The
Kel
fighting Irish.
the fighting
Uh,
Knights.
fuck, I forget. Whatever. Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. Well, because I remember because he had a tattoo with the fighting Irish dude with the
Yeah,
white.
it's a fisticuffs.
And
Yeah.
he went hard for me, man. Like, and he went, and I used to go to school, and the only reason he did that shit is because I woke up every fucking day, Monday through
Right.
Friday, and I went there and I
Right.
worked hard and I tried, and I feel
Right.
like I would learn more than I would have without it. But
Right.
I don't know if I earned to be in that class, bro.
Yeah.
I think if it was a test, he was looking at the
Yeah.
shit. He like, okay, checking the shit. He like, all right, bro, I'm gonna get this nigga a B because he knew I put the work in.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
I
know what I'm
know,
saying? Like,
man.
so like,
Effort gets rewarded too. Effort should be rewarded as well. Like, you know, what I
yes,
mean, not just achieving a result, but just effort, man. That should be rewarded as well.
and
Um,
my grandma was the only person in my family that knew that I was doing that shit because I had to
yeah.
leave the house, super early in the morning.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, man. Like,
No, that's so, and that's why I love that we were able to link up and do this podcast and shit, right? Because then we can share our experience. Because I feel like we are both individuals who came from definitely a challenged background, whether it be environment, whether it be like who was raising us, like who was in and who was in our lives. Like we had a very challenged background. We came out of Philly, and we
right,
still made it out. We still had people who pushed us. Your grandma, I had my grandparents who go to college. We were in the hood. Like I said, I was born and raised in North Philly, bro. I was in Hunting Park. I was behind Temple Hospital. I was near Six and Hunting Park. Like I floated around all that area, but like we still made it out. And in high school, I was in Upper Bound, Trio Upper Bound. It was a program for first generation college students where you would basically, I spent my weekends on a college campus at CCP. They gave us classes in a college classroom. They taught us about math, about reading. They kept us sharp. In the summer, they took us to college trips. We were on campuses, on CCP. Like I chose to do that, bro. Nobody made me do that. I realized that because I was in the hood, I knew I needed something extra because to get it out and to do the things that I was trying to do and to be the type of person I wanted to be, I had to put in extra work. So in the summertime, while niggas was running around playing, manhunt or whatever they was doing in the summer, chasing after the shorties, I was in class getting paid. They were giving us a stipend, but like I was in classes, bro. Throughout the whole summer, I was enriching my mind. I was going to trips and staying 4 or 5 days at University of Washington or Washington University, stuff like that. Like that's what I was doing in high school, bro. And then they helped me with scholarships and stuff. So like we put ourselves in that position. So like it also takes a little bit of a push of an internal drive, right? It's definitely on our parents, but like as an individual, you got to want more, and we got to get out of this hood. You got to think, I don't want to do what everybody else is doing because I'm gonna be stuck here. But we made it out. So just a testament to that too. That some of it is environment, but like you also at some point you got to stop being a victim. We've talked about this. You have power, you have control. You got to play the cards that you've been dealt and try to play them to your best to your best advantage and try to make it out. So yeah, man, this conversation is heavy. It's a lot.
yeah,
I'm with Charleston on this one. Don't tell him shit unless we start addressing these big issues in the community, fatherlessness, how we're behind academically, the promiscuity that's going rampant in our neighborhood now. All that type of stuff that's killing our neighborhoods, our communities now, like single mama, single dad culture. Kids out of wedlock, single parent households. Everything, man. Like it's a mess right now. It
yeah,
is a
I agree.
mess. So Any final thoughts, Ty? And then,
No,
yeah.
I think we said it all.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you for sharing, brother. It's always nice to hear more and learn more about you through the podcast too, because I'm like, oh, that's cool. Just the stories that I hear. So it's always nice to see, how you became the person that you are and all the adversity that we kind of climbed, like we had to overcome. So that's always cool. So as usual, family, please like, subscribe, let us know what you guys think. Any aspect of the video, talk to us. If you were in Philly, if you're a product of the Philly education system, how did that work for you? Did you get shortchanged like I did? Are we in crisis? What parts of the culture are in crisis? How do you feel about Charleston? Anything. Like, subscribe, engage, and until next time, y'all be safe.